Okay. Here we go again. It's about that time. Try to get my lives in around 8 p.m. Around this time. I try to get them in. I was taking a brief delay. I should take a hiatus. I was trying to upload more, not scripted, but edited videos. But I've been having some issues there, so I apologize for going MIA on you guys. I've been dropping the shorts, keeping y'all engaged, keeping y'all updated on some things in my view. But I've taken a little hiatus from the live, so I got to bring those back. What's going on, guys? We're here. First of all, as y'all coming into the room, do me a personal favor. Be sure to thumbs up button. Support the channel that way. If it's your first time getting into this channel, be sure to smash the subscribe button. We're dropping different videos, controversial topics, talking about politics, current events, all that good stuff. So y'all be sure to support the channel by hitting the subscribe button. How's my mic, guys? I want to make sure. Let me turn the background music down a little bit. I want to make sure my mic is good. I got to get some new equipment for this channel. This is just a hobby of mine right now, so I haven't been trying to invest too much into the channel yet. I want to build it up a little bit before I start really investing as far as like the cameras and the microphones, but we're going to get it together. But you see the thumbnail, all right? You see the thumbnail, you see the topic, you see the title. Today we're talking about reparations. According to the LA Times, most Californians are supporting reparations. Can you believe it? Look how far we've come. Look how far we've come. LA Times. Let me, as I'm stating this. I don't want to show that. Not yet. Hold on. Look how far we've come. This is coming from the LA Times. Coming from the LA Times. Most Californians want reparations, but don't want to pay cash. Now what? Okay, so first they went from it's a joke, it'll never happen. What are you talking about? Nobody supports reparations. What are you talking about? It's a pipe dream. Reparations will never come. Then, okay, hey, maybe we'll study it. We'll pass HR 40. We'll study about it. We'll think about it, right? It went from never happened to HR 40. We'll think about it. We'll study it. Now they're saying, oh, well, reparations are due. We've done this history. We've done our studies. And Black Americans today, foundational Black Americans, not Johnny-come-latelys, but foundational Black Americans are being affected from the history of slavery and are deserving of reparations. But it'll still never happen. All right, well, listen, if you're not a believer yet, just wait on it. We're working on it. People on the ground are still putting in the work, still keeping the conversation alive, right? This is not going to come overnight, but this is something that we need to continue to support. We need to be more outspoken and more verbally supportive of this, because I think a lot of times us as Black folks especially, whether you be foundational Black American, whether you be an immigrant, Haitian, Jamaican, Caribbean, African, Black folks especially, but Hispanic, whatever have you, a lot of times we have this pride. I'm speaking about Black folks, not necessarily Hispanics, but Black folks have this pride. Oh, I don't need a handout. I don't need to ask in for anything. Even if it's not a handout, this is something that is owed. And we have to start taking control of this narrative that reparations is not us asking for a handout, asking for assistance. No, this is something that our ancestors, our parents, our grandparents have earned through their hard work. They were never compensated for, and we want what is deserved from them. All right? And we have to learn to take control of this narrative and not be ashamed of it. One thing that we're going to address tonight is, okay, we see that the majority of Californians support reparations but don't want to pay. But our question now is, who is not supporting it? I think a lot of people who would support it, even some people who are entitled to it, are afraid to verbally say, yes, I support it. A lot of people, I'm talking about a lot of people, especially in the older generation, are like, well, yeah, I know in my heart of heart, intuitively, intuitively, I know that reparations is old, but I don't want to cause a fuss. I don't want to cause a fight. Just keep the money. A lot of people have this mentality that, yeah, reparations, we deserve reparations, but we'll never get it. Just let it go. And we have to change this mentality of just let it go. No, we're not just letting it go. That's the problem we're facing now. We've let it go for way too long. Let me ask you this before, and we're going to get into this article. I'm going to have to talk to y'all tonight. We're going to get into this article. I got a couple videos for you to see. We're going to have a good night tonight. We're going to get into this conversation. But let me hit you with this analogy. Have you ever loaned somebody money? Have you ever loaned somebody money? Some money that, okay, it might not be a lot to you, but you know it was something to help somebody else out. And that person never pays you back. Them not paying you back, you're not really too worried about it. You're like, okay, I loaned them the money. It's some significant amount of money, but I'm okay. I've got everything I need in my life. So yeah, I loaned you your money. I don't need it back right now, so I'm not really stressing on it. But then you see that person go out and spend frivolously. They're going out partying. They're going out clubbing. They're going out buying steak dinners. They're going out buying three-piece suits. They're going out buying the new J's. They're just going out spending all the money. Now, you loaned them the money thinking that they needed it and you weren't pressed about it. But when you see them just throwing the money away and you're like, hey man, you got that money you owe me? Nah, I don't have it. Now you don't have it. I see you throwing money at Ukraine, but now you don't have it. I see you printing money for COVID, but now you don't have it. I see you giving millions of dollars to these illegal immigrants, but now you don't have it. At first, I wasn't even tripping on the money that I loaned you. All right, you owe me some money, and I was just willing to let it go. But now I see you giving all this money to X, Y, and Z, but when it comes to me, you're telling me you don't have it. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. Just the principle of the thing, that's going to be a problem. In my eyes, I don't know how y'all feel about it, but if somebody owes me money and I see them throwing money around, and they haven't given me the money that they owe me, we got a problem. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to feel some type of way. I'm going to feel some type of way, and I'm not going to be ashamed if some other guy says, "Oh, you loaned him money way back then. You're still worried?" Yes, I'm still worried about that money he borrowed. He owes me from way back then. He owes me, period. And this is none of your business. If it's none of your business, it's none of your business. If he owes me, he owes me. And that's how I feel about reparations. And that's how we need to start addressing this conversation of reparations. It's not a handout. It's not a handout. This is something that is owed, a debt that is owed, and we shouldn't be ashamed into avoiding this conversation. All right, so with that being said, I just had to drop that on y'all. With that being said, let's get into this article. And like I said, I'm going to get into this article today. We're going to get into this article. We got a couple videos I'm going to play you. I got a couple jewels that I want to drop on you. So we're going to slow stroke it today. All right. So this is coming from the LA Times. LA Times says that most Californians want reparations for slavery, but don't want to pay cash. Now what? All right. And be sure to do me a favor and hit the thumbs up, guys, when y'all are coming in. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Going into the article, for a strong majority of California voters, the question of whether the Golden State should offer cash payments to the descendants of enslaved African Americans has a clear answer: no. All right, it's scary how they put it first. No. All right, that's fine. We're going to talk about this. But now notice the way they phrase the question. Should they offer cash payments? Two things. First, they're talking about cash payments. And the second part is, who are they offering it to? The descendants of enslaved African Americans. The descendants of enslaved African Americans. Now, before we move on, I want to point out how important this is that they phrased it this way, because it wasn't easy. At first, when talking about reparations, they were thinking about, oh, we're just going to make it for all black people. No matter when you got here, do black people deserve reparations? But that convolutes the conversation. That makes the conversation, oh, this guy just got here. last week, last year, and you're telling me he deserves reparations? What did America do to him? He willingly came to America. Why does he get reparations? This guy came from Ukraine. This guy came from Ghana. Why does the guy from Ghana get reparations and the guy from Ukraine doesn't? What happened to the guy from Ghana that America should pay them reparations? What did America do to Ghana? That's a fair point. So on this foundational Black American side of the game, the descendants of enslaved African Americans side of the game, the freedmen side of the game, we are pushing the lineage first. It's not about race here. This is about a debt owed to our specific lineage, not just all Black people. Listen, I'm supportive of Black people in Africa. I've been to Africa. I love Africa. I love people in Africa. I know today people living in Africa. I've been there. I'm supportive of Africa. But they have problems that they need to fight, that they need to be pushing in their own country. Right now, as a foundational Black American, I'm in my country pushing my line. That's what we need to be doing. When we get together, let's unify. But don't come over here and ask for something that's not for you. This is for us right now. And what I'm asking for is, hey, if you're coming over here, support us. Support us. We're going to get into that. Black folks from the diaspora. If you're from the Caribbean, if you're from Africa, we support y'all. We don't want this beef of, oh, it's Black Americans against the immigrants. No. But we're saying if you're coming over here, we need your support. Black Americans were the ones pushing for the immigration laws to change so you could get here. And now that you're getting here, you're not supporting us. That's why we feel some type of way. We need you to support us. Let's get back into this article. So when they're talking about offering cash payments specifically to the descendants of enslaved African Americans, the answer is no. But, it's a big but coming up, but despite that stark finding from a new UC Berkeley poll, co-sponsored by the Times, most California, the LA Times that is, most California voters possess a more nuanced view on the lasting legacy of slavery and how the state should address those wrongs. Okay, so they're saying, oh, it's a little bit more nuanced. I don't know if we want to pay them money, but there are wrongs that we need to address. The article goes on to say, they agreed that slavery still affects today's Black residents. Now that's very key. That's very important. I'm going to read it again. It says, they agreed, and let me make this a little bit bigger so that you all can, make sure you all can see it. Make it a little easier for you all to read. So I'm trying to help y'all out. It says they agreed that slavery still affects today's Black residents, and more than half said the state is either not doing enough or just enough to ensure a fair shake of success. Okay. So let me translate for that for you. Let me translate that for you. They agreed, this means the majority of people living in California agreed that the legacy of slavery still affects Black Americans today. And not only does it still affect us, but the state's not doing enough. They're not doing anything really to address it. The state's not doing anything to fix it. Okay? Yeah, slavery affects us today, and the state's not doing anything to address it. But we just don't want to give them cash. Yeah, we feel bad for them. Yeah, they were done wrong. Yes, the U.S. government owes them money, but we just don't want to pay it. So now this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the rubber meets the road. I think it's very hard for someone who is speaking in good faith. Someone speaking in good faith, it's hard for them to say that the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow does not affect foundational Black Americans in America today. It's hard for someone who's operating in good faith. Yeah, I'm a good person. I'm telling the truth here. I'm operating in good faith. And you're going to say that foundational Black Americans today aren't affected by the history that plagued their parents, their grandparents? What? Have you ever played Monopoly? The board game Monopoly? Have you ever played? Do you not realize that every spin around the board builds on the spin coming next? Every trip around the board of Monopoly gets you one step closer, richer or poorer in the game of Monopoly. Children's games understand this idea. So it's hard for someone operating in good faith to say that the foundational Black Americans in America today don't deserve reparations. What they will say is, yeah, y'all deserve it, but I just don't want to give it. And hey, that's fine. That's not fine. We want to change that mentality, but at least now we know a root cause analysis of the problem. We've done a root cause analysis. And now that we've done the root cause, now we know exactly the issue that we need to address. Let's get back into this article a little bit more before I play y'all a video. I'm going to play y'all a video, and I'm going to show you some pictures, which is very interesting. I'm going to show you some pictures that's very interesting on this topic. But okay, so they say the state's not doing enough to ensure a fair shake at success. The debate and commentary over California's reparation plan, the first of its kind in the nation, has focused largely on cash payments. But the reparations task force created by Governor Gavin Newsom, who might be running for president, by the way, let's not get that. Let's not overlook the fact that Joe Biden has a negative polling rate. Almost 80% of the country is not feeling Joe Biden. I think it's like 76% of the country wants anybody other than Joe Biden. So trust me, the Democrats are looking for alternatives, especially if Joe Biden's health starts to wane next year. He's got to get through this winter. We got some time. We're going to see what happens next year. Next year is going to be interesting. But the Reparations Task Force, created by Governor Gavin Newsom and state lawmakers in 2020, also recommended that 100 other policies to help address persistent racial disparities, including reforms to the criminal justice system and the housing market. Okay, those options. Let me turn this down, make sure that y'all can kind of hear me a little bit better. Let me turn this music down. I like my background music. Sometimes I'm rocking, but let me make sure that y'all can hear what I'm saying. Somewhere in there. All right. And I appreciate everyone who's rocking with me tonight. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button to support the channel. I appreciate everyone rocking with me tonight. All right, so where were we? Oh yeah, those options, the options other than cash payments, contained in a 1,080-page report on the effects of slavery and the discrimination policies sanctioned by the government after slavery was abolished, may be taken up next year in the next legislative session, leaving plenty of room to explore the spectrum of options that voters have so far expressed. So they're saying, listen, we don't know about the cash payments, but let's see what else we can do. Maybe we can get you some affordable housing. Maybe we can get you some police reform, some prison reform. Listen, that's not reparations. It's good. I'm supportive of police reform. I'm supportive of prison reform, but I'm not a criminal. I have no intention on committing a crime. I have no intention on going to prison, and I have the intention of minimizing my interactions with police, which means I have no intention of talking with police, interacting with them at all. I want as little interactions, as few interactions with the police as possible. So police reform and prison reform, that's nice, I support it, but that's not reparations. That's not what my mom who's a doctor deserves, my sister who's a doctor deserves. That's not what. Listen, here's the thing. When it comes to Black Americans, they act as if we're all criminals. They act as if we're just all criminals. Oh, prison reform, that's going to help Black people. What about the Black people who aren't criminals? What about the good, upstanding, hardworking Black Americans? What do they get? How is prison reform helping the college-educated Black woman? Helping the college-educated Black man? The 9-to-5 worker. How is prison reform helping us? As if we're all just criminals. No, that's not reparations. It's good, I support it, but that's not reparations. All right, moving on. Often people will be in favor of the principle, but not the policy. That's what I'm saying. They know that the debt is owed, they just don't want to pay up. Said Angie Marie Hancock, the executive director of the Kirwan Institute for the Study of Race and Ethnicity at Ohio State University, and a former department chair of political science at USC. When you get to the question of what the government should do about it, that's when the rubber hits the road. Let me highlight that so you can see that clearly. Because that's really what we're facing here. Most people, most good, upstanding, fair-minded people understand that Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, deserve and are owed reparations. If anyone can make a case for the government having undermined them intentionally, destroyed their communities, undermined their wealth, if anyone can make a case that their community was intentionally destroyed and undermined by the U.S. government, foundational Black Americans would be the textbook demographic. Yet they're the only ones who can't seem to get reparations. Japanese got reparations. The Jews continue to get reparations. They say, but that was so long ago. But what about the Native Americans? Native Americans get their own land. They get land grants, not housing loans. Not housing loans. They get land grants, whole swaths, acres and miles of land that they can control and police on their own. They have separate treaties. They have deals with government, tax-free status, special tax bracket statuses that they can take advantage of. And the only thing they can think of, well, not cash reparations. Okay, first of all, you're gonna have to write the check. You're gonna have to cut the check. But second of all, we'll also fine if you don't want to limit it to cash reparations, which we're still coming for. You can go ahead and give us some tax exempt status. You can also give us some, as you said, some police reform. You can give us some land grants, not housing grants, some land. Let's open up some of those federally secured acres of land. Let's open some of that. Let's split that up. Oh, there's options. There's options to way that we can slice this pie. But they really caught it accurately when they said you get to the question of what the government should do about it, and that's when the rubber meets the road. Richard Malone, a 71-year-old retiree in Rancho Cucamonga, who is a registered Republican, said he fears what California reparations plan could do to his tax bill. Already, he said, the state is becoming too expensive for people on fixed incomes. I know who will pay. It's people like me, said Malone, a retired IRS agent. It won't be the rich. It won't be the poor. It will be all of us in the middle. You don't have to be a mathematician to know that our taxes will have to go up to pay for this. Well, listen, I'm sorry, but that's the way things work. Listen, reparations is owed. No matter how you want to cut it, reparations is owed. Nobody complains about the taxes going up when we're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine. Oh, they need our help. They need our help. Nobody complains about the taxes going up when we're sending hundreds of millions of dollars to these sanctuary cities. Oh, but they're fleeing poverty. Where do we flee to as Black Americans? We've got thousands of people rushing our borders, intentionally breaking our laws, intentionally breaking our border laws. And we're supposed to have empathy because they're fleeing poverty. Well, where do we flee? How do we flee poverty? The poverty that was invoked upon us by the U.S. government. How do we flee that? Yeah, hard work. But why don't these thousands of immigrants just go get some hard work in their home countries? Huh? No, you don't complain. We're supposed to have empathy for them. We're supposed to have empathy for Ukraine. Where's empathy for us? Why is it that the taxes going up is only a concern? Taxes are only a concern when it comes to us. That's what I don't understand. Why is that only a concern when it comes to us? Moving on. Malone, who is white, said he would rather see California legislators provide more of a helping hand to all disadvantaged residents, regardless of race. So understand once again what they're saying is foundational Black Americans are owed reparations. We all agree upon that. But the solution to this group being disadvantaged, to this group being intentionally harmed and intentionally I don't want to use the word oppressed, but it is economically devastated. They were intentionally economically devastated. We all recognize that, and the solution is we should help everybody. How do you reach that conclusion? This specific group underwent specific harm, but the solution is help everybody. Why is it that we have to swallow this lift all boats every time when it comes to our grievances? That's what I don't understand. When the immigrants come over, we're supposed to address their concerns as it's specific to them. When the immigrants come, they don't say, "Oh, well, let's give all homeless housing." No, they say we need to find housing for these immigrants. Think of Chicago. They just gave $51 million in 1 month to the immigrants shipped up there from Texas. 1 month. Chicago gave away $51 million to the immigrants who came from Texas. 1 month. But when those immigrants came to Chicago, they didn't say, "Oh, well, there's immigrants here, so let's solve the homelessness of the whole city." No, they said, "Let's solve the homeless problem of these immigrants." Why is it that we have to address their problems specifically, but for our problems, we have to address issues for everyone? We have to water down our grievances. That's what I'm not understanding. Let's get some more into this article. And y'all be sure to hit the thumbs up, guys. Y'all be sure to hit the thumbs up. I appreciate y'all rocking with me. Okay, so more of a helping hand to disadvantaged residents regardless of race. That could include more investment in schools in low-income neighborhoods, he said, as well as a revamp of community colleges and trade schools to create pathways to jobs that will pay not only a living wage, but a good wage. Listen, I am totally for living wage. I'm totally for a good wage. And I'm totally for living wage. Yes, I'm in agreement. America needs a living wage. I'm in agreement. We need to support our community colleges. That is an excellent path to education. I think it doesn't get the credit that it deserves. It's a good way to save money those first 2 years while you might be trying to figure out what major, what direction you want to take as far as a career path. We need to emphasize community colleges. We need to emphasize trade schools. Absolutely. We need living wage. Absolutely. But that's not reparations. Those are standalone policies which we should be supporting. But it's not reparations. And why do we have to conflate the problems of the whole society with the specific problems of foundational Black Americans? That's what I'm not understanding. And I'm open to pushback. Listen, if you disagree, if you have a different perspective, please tell me. Please tell me. Please explain to me. If I'm open to disagreement, I'm open to this conversation. If you have a different point of view, explain to me why it is that we have to address the homelessness when it concerns the immigrants, but we don't have to address homelessness as the whole city. Why do we have to address other people's problems specifically, but foundational Black Americans is a lift all boats? Answer that question. While you're thinking of an answer, let's continue with this article. And we're there's something specific here that I'm trying to get to. So we're kind of reading through the article, but before I move on, there's something specific here that I'm trying to get to. Malone said he supports some reparations, including the 88 decision to pay $20,000 to each of more than 80,000 Japanese Americans incarcerated by the government during World War II. So he supports reparations for Japanese people getting $20,000. And that was in 1988. 40 years after World War II ended. 88 was 40 years after World War II ended. There's people surviving the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre, petitioning for reparations, who still can't get it, and they're still alive today. The people who survived the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre petitioned for reparations today and are being blocked and denied. But this man supports reparations for those Japanese people who were temporarily incarcerated. Now listen, that's something I would support too. I think it was good that they got the reparations. You can't just go enslaving whole sloughs of people. But at the same time, if you support them, why do they get specific solutions to their specific problems, but we don't get specific solutions to our specific problems? But he questioned whether black people who were not enslaved themselves deserve that same treatment. Listen, reparations is not only reparations for slavery. Slavery is the foundation of the reparations argument. But the effects of slavery continued on through Jim Crow. My mom was born in 1958. 1957? 1957. She was 11 when Martin Luther King died. My mom was born in 1957. That is during Jim Crow. Think about the conditions she came up in when she would visit her family in Louisiana, in St. Louis. Think about what she had to go through when she was sitting on the bus visiting her family in St. Louis. Think about what her parents were denied when trying to give my mom an education because of the color of her skin. Think about the books, the hand-me-down situations that my mom was going through. And how does that affect her child? These things are generational. And it doesn't just, oh, slavery ended and everything after that was rosy. No, slavery ended, then you're getting hit with Jim Crow. Then you're getting hit with massacres, race riots, terrorism, government-sanctioned terrorism. You understand? This stuff didn't just stop at slavery. Malone's concern echoes the most common reason why most poll respondents oppose cash reparations. 6 in 10 said it was unfair to ask today's taxpayers to pay for wrongs committed in the past, while 53% said it would be unfair to single out one group when other racial and religious groups were also historically wronged. About 1 in 5 said the proposal would cost too much. Here's the thing, and we're getting to the part that I wanted to highlight. This is what I wanted to highlight. When you start talking about the reasons for not supporting it, this is what they say. Oh, it happened so long ago. But they've already admitted that the harms of the past affect those of us today. Another argument is, what about the wrongs to other racial and religious groups? But why is it that they're not pushing for their own reparations? If other races and other religious groups have some claim to reparations that they think that they are owed, why not make that claim and have us support it? Why does us getting what we are owed stop someone else from getting what they are owed? And this is what I want to go into tonight. And I'm kind of slow stroking. I've been on here a little bit longer, but this is really what I wanted to highlight. The fact that think about the LGBT, think about the Rainbow Coalition. Think about the Rainbow Coalition for a second. Do you think it was only people who identify as a member of the Rainbow Coalition who supported that movement? Think about all the heterosexual people, the heterosexual parents, the heterosexual brothers and sisters who said, listen, I'm not gay, I'm not bi, I'm not X, Y, or Z, but I support y'all's movement because it's good for you. It's something that you are owed. You want your freedoms. So even though I'm not affected by this, I support you because it's the right thing to do. Whatever happened to that? When it comes to the Rainbow Coalition, heterosexual people, to their own detriment, might I add, if you think about black women, 1 in 4 black women will get married in their lifetime. 1 in 4. black women will get married in their lifetime. Which means promoting the Rainbow Coalition is directly opposed to their own interests. An argument could be made that the LGBT, the Rainbow Coalition is directly opposed, normalizing that, promoting that as an alternative lifestyle that should be equated as positive as heterosexuality, is limiting a lot of people's options in the dating market, eliminating a lot of people's options as far as finding a husband, a long-term mate. It just is. But nobody says, oh, well, we can't push that because we can't push your freedoms and your rights because what about me? No. We're supposed to have empathy for their rights and their desires and their calls for freedom. But when we have a call for freedom, it's like, oh, well, I know you're right. I know you deserve it. But no. It's this double standard for me. And I'm gonna start digging into that parallel. I got a little bit more of this article, and I know I'm slow stroking it here. But there's something I want to address on that line of thought, that train of thought. Remember that. But I'm trying to get somewhere here. Camilla Moore, the chair of the Reparations Task Force, said she considered it a win that 6 in 10, that means the majority, of Californians agreed that slavery still affects black residents. That is a win. The majority of Californians agree that slavery still affects black residents. Once you have that documented, that's something you can build on. Because then the only question becomes, okay, so what are we going to do about it? What are we doing about it? First, you got to acknowledge the problem. Now, as of now, 6 in 10 Californians have acknowledged the problem. Now the question becomes what to do about it. I'm going to skip a little bit of this article because there's something here that I wanted to highlight. This is the last thing. This is the last thing that I really wanted to highlight. She said that negative views on the task force and cash payments were partly shaped by media consumption, especially from right-wing news outlets. Those who vote Republican own homes and live in rural areas reported hearing about the reparations task force in significantly higher numbers than Democrats. And this is something bad too. Why is it that the Republicans are hearing about reparations, but the Democrats aren't even talking about it? They're ignoring, most black people are Democrats. So why is it that Democrats aren't even talking about this? You see that? Reparations task force in significantly high numbers than Democrats are hearing about reparations, but the Democrats are ignoring us. That's something I don't like, but that's not what I wanted to highlight. Here's what I wanted to highlight. Who opposes it? Cash payments were slightly more popular, and I'm going to highlight this, among women, younger voters, and those born in the U.S. Now that's important. That's important. Cash payments were slightly more popular among women, younger voters, and those born in the U.S. First of all, who have the kids? Women. Who is the largest voting bloc and who will be the largest voting bloc in the future? Younger voters. Because younger voters grow up and elder voters move on. Which means that what's important, what the women think, what the younger voters think, those are the most important demographics. And there's only 1/3 demographic here that needs to be highlighted, and that's those born in the U.S. Because if you notice, this immigration thing is becoming very polarizing. That's all I wanted to point out from this article. I'm going to show you some videos, and we're going to get into some other pictures now. But this whole immigration thing is becoming very polarizing. Because at first, black people, which is the base of the Democratic Party, were going along with the whole immigration movement, the whole DACA programs, all of that stuff. Black people were supporting immigration for the longest. But recently, especially us younger folks, we've been saying, hey, we need to start delineating. We need to start looking out for ourselves. We need to start looking out for the people who were born in America. Us foundational black Americans, we are a distinct group, and we have issues that are not being addressed. And since we've been bringing this up, since we've thought of the issue of delineation, calling our lineage a specific group and not this catch-all Black Americans, which could include all these different cultures. No, what about us as a specific group? The idea that we need to delineate has become very, very polarizing. And I think the Democratic Party doesn't know how to react yet. They don't know how, they don't have a response. They don't have an answer, because logically, it's hard to debate. It's hard to debate that foundational Black Americans aren't a distinct group, have a distinct and unique culture, have distinct and unique contributions to American society. And it's hard to argue that we have been neglected politically and economically. Like I said, $51 million going towards immigration, tackling homelessness in the immigrant community in Chicago in 1 month. That same month, how much money was given to the homeless people of Chicago, the homeless citizens in Chicago? That $51 million, if it was sitting there for the immigrants, that means it was sitting there a month before, and nobody was using that for the homeless citizens of Chicago. So why is it that when the immigrants come, they get specific solutions to their problems, but they don't address the homelessness in the entire city? But when we ask for specific solutions for our problems, there's an issue. That's something that is hard for the Democrats now that it's being called out, because for the longest we were just supportive. We were just, okay, well, we'll just go along, get along. But now we're pushing back. Now we're saying, hey, we have specific problems, we have specific grievances, and we need specific solutions for us, tangibles for us. And the Democrats haven't figured it out yet. They are losing especially Black male support. They're losing it. They are losing it. Republicans are picking it up a little bit, but the Republicans will only keep that margin for a short time before Black people say, well, hey, both of these parties. Republicans are just the only significant alternative. But they're really not offering anything either, which is why the rise of the third parties, I believe, is going to be next. Before we get into that, I don't want to get off topic here, though. What I wanted to point out here, and let me go back to this. I'm done with this article. If you're just getting in the room, I'm done with this article. But I do want to highlight this. If you Google rainbow rallies, look at how many people go out to support the rainbow rallies. Look how many people of different cultures, different ethnicities, different religions. Do you see how many people are out en masse? Let me ask you a question. Do you think all of these people are gay? Do you not understand that a lot of these people are straight too? There are so many straight, heterosexual people who support the Rainbow Coalition. Look at the numbers that these people are able to garner. There's a lot of straight, heterosexual people supporting the Rainbow Coalition, despite the fact that it gives us, as heterosexual people, it does not benefit us in any way. If you're a heterosexual, benefiting the Rainbow Coalition does you no good. It doesn't harm you. I'm saying I'm neutral. Oh, do what you want to do, fine. But there's no benefit for us. But we support it because we understand that it's the right thing to do. Offering freedoms and rights to someone else is good just on its face value. You deserve rights. You want rights. Go ahead and get your rights. But one of the biggest pushbacks that people have to reparations is, oh, well, we don't qualify. So when you go out to the reparations rally, you all the pictures are like 5 people in the back. They try to take a picture as if it's deep. It's not deep. I'm telling you, I went to Tariq Nasheed's rally for reparations here in DC. I live in DC. Do you know how hard? And I've got Black family members here. I've got friends here. I'm established in DC. I'm without saying too much, I'm plugged in. I've got connections here in DC. Do you know how hard it is to get someone to go to a reparations rally? I've got heterosexual friends who would rather go to a Rainbow Coalition rally than they would go to a reparations rally. Even Black people Because black people, all black people are foundational black Americans. So if you're from the Bahamas, if you're from Jamaica, if you're from Ethiopia, you're black. You're in America. You rocking with the foundational black Americans. We're together. We like this, right? We locked in. You're black from the Caribbean. You're black from Africa. You come to America. We're like, hey man, you need to support us. We're trying to get this thing going. You're like, nah, because it doesn't support me. It doesn't help me. Listen, that's the selfishness that we need to address. That's the selfishness that we need to address. Because we see heterosexual people supporting things that don't necessarily benefit them. But we can't get us black folks on code. We can't get enough unity amongst our black people. Heck, even black Americans ashamed to say that they deserve reparations. Do you know how embarrassed your ancestors would be? Can you just imagine as a black American, when you die, imagine you go up to heaven and you talk to your ancestors, your great-great-granddad, and your great-great-granddad's like, hey, I heard y'all having some reparation rallies down there. Did you go? Oh, nah, I didn't go. If I was your great-great-granddad, I'd smack the nose off your face. Can you imagine what hell that man went through? That man was getting beat, watched his wife get raped, worked for free until he died. He bled, he sweat, he was tortured. And his great-great-grandson said, hey man, we need to push for these reparations. We need to get some justice for our ancestors. And then you die and you got to go up there to the ancestors and explain to them, oh yeah, I didn't do nothing about it. I wasn't on code. I wasn't unified. I didn't care nothing about none of that. All that work that you did to pave the way, I appreciate it. But getting what you deserve, getting what you work for, oh nah, I just let the white folks have it. I would be ashamed. I would be ashamed to die and go tell my great-great-granddad that I just gave up the fight. That man fought to get free. And I just, oh yeah, well you were free, I had a good life, that was enough. No, it's not enough. It's not enough. Nope. When I die, I want to go tell my ancestors, hey man, I fought the good fight, and hopefully my kids will do the same thing. I want to tell my great-granddad, I want to tell my great-great-granddad, hey granddad, I know the work that you put in. I know what you had to overcome. I know the struggle, the disenfranchisement, the economic deprivation that you had to go through. I know the economic status that the U.S. government put you through. I fought to get justice for you, granddad. Even though you weren't here, I fought to get you justice, granddad. I want to give that report. I don't want to give them the report, oh, I just gave up the fight. I didn't care. I had a good life, and that was good enough. No, I fought for you, granddad. That's what I want to say when I die. I want to tell my granddad, hey, all those other folks, there were straight people at the rainbow rallies. But when it came to getting you justice for what you went through, people were ashamed to tell the government that they deserve what they deserve. That's not the report I want to give. Now I'm going to close out with this, and y'all be sure to hit the thumbs up button. I appreciate everyone rocking with me. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. I'm going to show you. I'm going to end with this though. I was going to play a video, but I'm going to end with this. Now a lot of times when we're looking at reparations, they say, oh well, we don't deserve the handouts. Our tax dollars are going to have to pay for this. That was we just read the article from the LA Times. One of the biggest pushback was, well, do we really need to have our tax dollars go for this? Yeah, they're being affected by what we did before, what the U.S. government did before, but what's the solution? I don't want to pay the debt, that is owed. But check this article out and tell me what you think. 8 times the U.S. government gave white people handouts to get ahead. Check this article out. It's a very interesting article here. Because who do you think was paying for this? Who do you think was paying for this? And how much pushback do you think they got? This is coming from the Atlanta Black Star. This is a very interesting article. 8 times the U.S. government gave white people handouts to get ahead. Number 1, 1830 Indian Removal Act. With the help of the U.S. Army, Cherokee, Creek, and other Eastern Native American tribes, mind you, we're Sioux on this side. My great aunt told me before she died Don't forget. Don't forget, baby. She used to do the quilts. Don't forget, baby. We got that Native American. We got that Native American in us. Don't forget. Don't forget, baby. You're my favorite uncle. You're my favorite nephew. She used to tell me that. I told her I won't tell anybody. She said I don't care if you do. Hey, hey, I love you, Rob. I love you, cuzzos. I got a couple cuzzos. Hey, I love y'all. I love y'all, but Gladys, she told me. She used to tell me, I was living here in DC. Yeah, I don't know who's watching this, but yeah, she told me. I used to visit her in the hospital. I'm gonna move on, but yeah, we got that Sioux in us. We got that Eastern Native American blood in our veins. The 1830 Indian Removal Act removed Cherokee, Creek, and other Eastern Native American tribes were forced to relocate west of the Mississippi. West of the Mississippi, talking about to St. Louis and all. Get out. West of the Mississippi River to make room for white settlers. Who paid for that? Oh, we as taxpayers, we don't want to pay. Who paid for this relocation, the 1830 Indian Removal Act? Let's read some more. The 1862 Homestead Act. This act gave away an overwhelming number of acreage to white settlers out west. Land that had been previously settled by Native Americans, again, the Native Americans, that's us. A lot of times they like to say we're African Americans. Listen, a lot of Black Americans are Native Americans. That's the part that they don't want to tell you. We are foundational Black Americans. We're moving away from that African American stuff because y'all trying to keep pushing us away from America, but a lot of us are Native Americans. Only like 5% of the Africans actually reached North America, actually reached United States. The majority of us were already here. We were already here. They just grabbed us, threw us on the plantation, and mixed us in with the Africans that got here. But we were already here. We were already here. We were already Black. So when you're reading about the 1862 Homestead Act, when you're reading about the 1830 Land Indian Removal Act, that's us that they're talking about. That's us. Let's read some more. The 1862 Homestead Act. This act gave away an overwhelming number of acreage to white settlers out west. Land that had been previously settled by Native Americans, according to California Newsreel, nearly 270 million acres of Indian territory was converted to private property for white settlers. But we don't want to pay. We don't want to pay reparations because why should we have to pay? The 1790 Naturalization Act. Under this legislation, only free whites were allowed to become naturalized citizens of the United States. Thus, the doors were opened for European immigrants, but not anyone else. The right to vote, serve on juries, and hold office was exclusively reserved for American citizens. So you can't vote, can't serve on juries, you can't run for mayor, not president. We're not talking about president. We're talking about mayor, governor, city council. You can't run for anything. You can't have any office if you're not white. You understand? And the only way you can be an American citizen, you gotta have that pale face, baby. Is this not a benefit, a handout to one side of the spectrum? Is this not a handout? There's no competition from the Africans, from the free Black men, from the Asians, from the Hispanic. There's no competition. That's not a handout. Let's read some more. We're not even halfway done. Going back up. The Social Security Act of 1935, enacted under President Roosevelt. This is 1935. This is not so long ago. This is within people's lifetimes. This is less than 100 years ago. There's people alive today. My neighbor across the street right here, not even across the street, my neighbor right here is 98 years old. My neighbor right here was alive when this happened. Not so, it was so long ago. Slavery was so long. We're talking about within the lifetime of Black people alive today. The Social Security Act of 1935. Enacted under President Roosevelt's New Deal, the Social Security Act provided a financial safety net for millions of workers and guaranteed that they would continue to be paid after retirement. But this luxury didn't extend to everyone, however. The act excluded agricultural and domestic laborers, many of whom were Black, Mexican, and Asian. Now, mind you, 1935, there was many more Black people than there were Mexicans and Asians. They try to throw in Mexican and Asian just to be fair, but let's be realistic. In 1935, the majority of the minority population was us, Black, Native American, Black folks. Mexicans just now in 2023 are getting up into the 10s and 13%. 1935, Mexicans were in Mexico. They had no reason in 1935 to come to America. So they didn't want to deal with this. They didn't want to deal with this stuff, this racism that America got. They'd rather stay in their own country in 1935. This was before World War II, and this was before America became a superpower. America didn't become a superpower until after World War II. 1935, Mexicans were in Mexico. The Asians were in China and Asia. They weren't just coming to America like that. They weren't crossing the ocean in 1935. They weren't crossing the ocean like that. They weren't. The majority of the minorities was us. So yeah, Mexicans and Asians too. Yeah, but it was us that they were trying to exclude. The agricultural workers, the domestic laborers. We are paying our taxes into the system, and this system is taking our taxes and putting it in to the Social Security Act of 1935 so that your parents and your grandparents can retire, but not ours. Right? Our grandparents, they better save, or they better have some successful kids, because if their kids can't take care of them, there's no, in 1935, if you didn't have that pale face, it was over for you. Right? We're halfway done. We're halfway done. When I talk, I start to get a little passionate when I'm reading this stuff, so it takes me a little longer than I'd like. But y'all hit that thumbs up button. Y'all hit that thumbs up button, because you know how when I start reading. Halfway done, guys. All right. The GI Education Bill, Veteran Administration, Housing Authority, and Healthcare System. We're almost done, guys. Because of these government programs, mostly white members of the armed forces were able to continue their education, guaranteed. Bruh, can you see this? Because I want to rock while I'm reading this. Can y'all see this? Because this is crazy. This is crazy. Think about this as a handout. Free education, guaranteed housing, meaning no homelessness, guaranteed housing, public health care system, Medicare for all. Everyone fights the war. We're all coming back veterans, we're all coming back injured, we're all coming back PTSD, but we're going to save those tax dollars that everyone is paying into. We're going to save the benefits. We're going to save the benefits of this for the paleface. Now, your grandparents, your fathers, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, they get none of it. They get none of it. They get free housing, guaranteed housing. They get free education. So you come back, you're 25, you just got out the army. Now you go to college for free. You go to law school for free. You become a doctor for free. My granddad, what's he got to do? Your granddad, he comes back, goes to school, becomes a doctor for free. My dad comes back, he has to be a janitor at the hospital. And you don't see how that could affect somebody generationally? Really? You don't see that? Or on the flip side, if the black person was to work, they have to work so hard to overcome, to compete. Not only to compete, I'm hesitant, but I kind of want to tell you a story about my family. Having to put a white man's face on my granddad's business, even though the white man's not doing anything. He's a partner. He's getting paid to do nothing. just because he's white. We need a white face on this business so we can be productive, so we can be competitive. So let's be partners with this white man. Yeah, the white man, he's not going to do anything. We're going to do all the work. But he gets, huh? Huh? Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, let me get through this article without, because y'all know I start to get, yeah, right. Let's get through this article. Many of these benefits were reserved for white veterans. However, for the handful of black veterans who could participate in these programs, their benefits were still fewer than their white counterparts. That's if you even, most people didn't even get it. Maybe if you were an officer, but if you were enlisted, you're not getting nothing. The Wagner Act of 1935, also known as the National Labor Relations Act. This legislation gave labor unions the power of collective bargaining. That means unions. That means unions. The Wagner Act of 1935. That means unions. They have the right to do collective bargaining. That's unionization. Defined unfair work practices and established consequences if those rules were broken, as unions excluded non-white workers from better paying jobs and benefits like health care, pension, and job security. Millions of white workers were able to work their way into the middle class. So we're both doing construction. We're both doing construction. This man falls off a ladder, breaks his back. He's got a pension. He's got health care. This black man falls off the ladder, breaks his back. You better hope your wife can take care of you and doesn't leave you. You get nothing. Nothing. You get good luck. You got good luck, boy. Good luck, son. and you don't see how this thing could affect people generationally? Really? Okay. We got two more. Federal Housing Administration. Under this bill, white families were granted home loans, making it possible for them to purchase their very first humble abode. Unfortunately, mortgage eligibility was often tied to race, while those living in an integrated neighborhoods were deemed a flight risk and denied loans. That still affects us today. Mind you, even today in 2023, if you're a black homeowner and you have your house appraised, your house on average will be appraised $100,000 to $150,000 below market value. Even today in 2023, if you're a black homeowner, you have black pictures in your house, you have black paraphernalia, black clothes, black pictures, black artwork in your house. Ooh, you better take it down before you get your house appraised. You better hire some white lady. You better hire somebody to come in. Don't let them see don't let them see a black family in a nice house and get that thing appraised. Yeah, okay. You better hide the melanin. They're gonna undervalue your house. Last one, 1960s Jim Crow laws. These outwardly discriminatory laws not only barred African Americans from drinking at the same water fountain as whites. That's what they always like to say. Oh, they had different water fountains. They had to sit in the back of the bus. That was not it. It reserved the best jobs, schools, neighborhoods, and hospitals for white people. Jim Crow wasn't bad because you had separate bathrooms and separate schools. Jim Crow was bad because every public facility gives the best to the whites and the worst to the blacks. We're paying the same amount in taxes, but our taxes are going to get the white kids the best books and going to get the black kids the worst books. Going to pave the roads in the white side of the neighborhood and giving the dirt roads to the black side. It's about our tax dollars. Integration was not about, oh, we wanted to go sit at the white restaurant. No. It's about we wanted our tax dollars to be distributed equally. We don't want to go to a park and y'all get the best parks and we get the worst parks. Y'all get the best equipment, we get the worst equipment. It was about public facilities. And that's what they hate talking about. Listen, guys, I'm about to go over here. I'm about to have a freaking stroke getting hot about this stuff. Because and I care about it so much because I know my lineage. I think if maybe if you didn't know your father, maybe if you didn't know your grandfather, I'm the fifth. I am the fifth. So I care about this because when they say, "Oh, that happened so long ago," I've got the DNA in me. I know my dad. I know my granddad. I know my great granddad. My granddad, great granddad, they're died. They're dead now. But I knew them when I was a kid. I've got pictures with 4 or 5 generations, 4 generations in the same picture. Men, dad, granddad, great granddad. I've got men. I know my lineage. And when people say this stuff doesn't matter, it matters. It matters. And I know that if it's affected my life, I know how my father and my grandfather and my great grandfather, I know how they've affected my life in a positive direction. The contributions that my father has made in my life have affected me positively. And I know what my granddad had to go through to make his business, to get his business off the ground. I know what my great granddad had to go through to get his business off the ground. So I'm just thinking, okay, my great granddad had to do this. What about the man down the street? What about that man down the street who didn't have my dad, who didn't have my great granddad, who didn't have? Just imagine how those same men were facing the same problems. Now, I come from stock where we stood on it. Yeah, we got problems, but we're going to fight. We're not going to give up. We're some good men. You cannot hold a good man down. You cannot. Delayed is not denied. You can delay us. It might take us a little longer, but you can't deny us. We will not stop. Every day, we will not stop until we reach success. That's the line I come from. There's a lot of people out here, man, that just didn't have that. That just didn't have that. Who were attacked, economically deprived, and I'm fighting for them. I'm fighting for them. They might not even know that they need fighting for. They might not even know. They might not even fully understand how these things have generationally impacted them in their lives. But I know the importance of your legacy, the importance of your father, your grandfather, your great. I know the importance of legacy. I'm the fifth. Junior, third, I'm the fifth. Senior, junior, senior, junior, the fifth. And my son will be the sixth. So I know the importance of these histories, these legacies. I know the importance. And I understand that everybody didn't have that. And everybody didn't have someone fighting for them. So they just learned to accept negativity. They learned to accept deprivation. And I'm not accepting it. I'm fighting for me, but I'm really fighting for all these other folks who don't even know that what they deserve. They don't even know. They don't even know what they deserve. I'm fighting for y'all guys. But hey, that's it for today. I appreciate everyone who's rocking with me this far. I appreciate everyone who's been rocking with me tonight. Y'all be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Support the channel. Hit the thumbs up button. If you're new to the channel, smash the subscribe button. I know I took a little longer on this one today. I had to get into it. I didn't play everything I wanted to play, but it's kind of a free for all. I'm just kind of stream of consciousness here. I appreciate y'all rocking with me. Hit the thumbs up button. Smash the subscribe button. I appreciate you all. Peace.